Kia ora, I'm Harv, Ian Harvey, founder of Collective Intelligence, and this is Stuff That Matters Now. Nā mai hoki mai. Today's voice belongs to Sasha Lockley. Sasha is, a really interesting woman, came out to New Zealand from the UK, has had a career in corporate and finance, accounting, and because of her life experience wanted to create something, a different outcome for people who are struggling with debt, and has done something about it. And this company, movement, Money Sweet Spot, is not far away from launching, and it was a great opportunity to sit down with her and find out her motivation, how it works. Really keen for people to hear this, to share it, let people know who might need this service. So looking forward to it. Sasha's a lot of fun. It will be an energetic conversation. I know that. She's a lot of fun, but really, really, really smart. And listen up and enjoy. Right, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Sasha Lockley, who's actually a really smart woman when she's not being a dick. The trouble is Sasha and I sort of know each other too well, and maybe our personalities are similar. So that's not ideal. I'm sorry, I take that back. Okay, let's get the show underway. Sasha, good afternoon. Who are you?
Who am I? That is a big question. Kia ora e te whānau, e whana mai aho e Ingarangi, ko Stafford Castle Te Awanga, ko Riversail Te Awa no Stafford aho. Ko Sasha Lockley tēnei. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Ka pai. Well done, Sasha, for no, not for anything. Well done. Sasha, why, apart from you being really interesting and funny and all that stuff, I'm also interested to talk to you today about this thing you're doing, Money Sweet Spot. Okay? Mm-hmm. So that's going to be the focus of the topic. And for the people listening, Sasha said, what are we talking about? And I told her. And we sat down and said, and then I asked her to repeat it, and she's forgotten or hasn't done what she's supposed to do. So this is in free fall now, and she's found out that we don't edit the podcast. So she's really nervous about that.
I could be saying like anything.
Anything, absolutely, you could be. Okay, so Sasha, let's be grown-up people right now.
Okay.
Tell me about Money Sweet Spot. What is it?
Money Sweet Spot is the first digital social lender in New Zealand that has... it's to help people get away from predatory, harmful, judgmental, gross debt so they can get on with their lives. So debt can be really harmful to people and can be like the defining moment in somebody's life. And I don't want that to be the case for anybody. So I want people to be able to move through debt and get on with it rather than it be the thing that defines them. And I started doing it because I got really pissed off with the current system. I said I wasn't going to say that, and I've got like 30 seconds in.
Boom, you're into it.
Oh, good God. So I used to work for the Serious Fraud Office, and I was the COO of a finance company. And what that meant was that I could see kind of the world from lots of different angles. And I got really frustrated with... I guess the lack of innovation and how judgmental sometimes the system can be. So I left my job one day and decided that there had to be a better way, and I couldn't face not doing something about it.
So just go back to this thing you've set up. Money Sweet Spot is the first digital
social lender. I know that's a big call, and I'm sat here going, can I say that? But I think we can. And the reason I can say that is that There are microfinance providers who provide 0% loans, and really low interest loans for people that are they've got a community services card or that kind of income capped. So those people exist, and then there are banks and there are finance companies. And what Sweet Spot does is kind of the bit in the middle, a little bit like a credit union, but without being a credit union. And the only thing we do is provide financial resets. The only thing we do is debt consolidate. We don't do anything else. My co-founder calls us the Stranger Things of finance companies. And what that means is that kind of when you sit and you work for a bank or a finance company, it's like, oh, we're going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and we'll have more products and we're going to take over the world. Whereas we're like the opposite. We don't want to get bigger. We want to lose customers as fast as possible because that means they're getting on with their lives. So kind of all the metrics that are normal, we're the opposite of them, which makes it really interesting when you're trying to get investors. Because you're like, no, we're not going to be really massive. No, we're not going to upsell. No. We just want to do our sweet spot, which is resetting people so that they can get on with their lives.
So you've got a co-founder, and you're the CEO person. Yeah,
I am. I know it's hard to believe, eh?
I'm still struggling with the serious fraud office, Sasha. That you were there.
I was.
Yeah.
Imagine me there.
Can
I just say,
no.
You start.
Oh, yes, you can.
I can't, right? So we started with the worst accountant in the world. That's a bit problematic, given that I was a forensic accountant at the serious fraud office. Hey, yeah. But the reason that I was so bad, right, is that I believe that people are good and that bad things can happen to any of us. And then when you work at the serious fraud office, all you see is the bad that people do every day, and it's like soul destroying. So that's why, I couldn't have stayed there. Would have killed me.
Right. So, and look, I want to look at where you've come from at some point, because you speak funny. And I want to delve into that. But just going back to this money sweet spot, who are do you call them clients, or who do people come and find you?
Yeah, so we're launching just before Christmas, so we don't have customers yet, but there'll be customers. Think everyday hardworking Kiwi that's doing the juggle. So they're probably employed in like normal everyday jobs, shops, factories, just hardworking Kiwis. That the juggle of life is real, and with interest rates going up at the moment, cost of living, like there are more and more people. It's like middle New Zealand, and the places that get really looked after is if you've got a hell of a lot of money, and there are support services for people that are really, really struggling, kind of the social services end. And we're smack in the middle, acknowledging that kind of the system judges these people as if they're high risk, but they're not. Like, they're people that are everyday Kiwis, couple of kids, juggling life, trying to figure things out, but it doesn't take much to tipple people under. It could be like your car blows up, and then it means that you're not keeping on top of your bills or your rent repayments. And what we do is that people will be paying like debt at like 20 to 40%, because that's actually a thing in New Zealand, which is awful. And we refinance at a lower rate.
And who would they be paying that debt to?
Right now, I'm not going to name particular lenders.
No, but sort of the type of people. This is new zone for me. Who would charge? What sort of people charge those institutions?
Finance companies. Yep, finance companies, payday lenders. Interestingly as well, kind of buy now, pay later gets a lot of attention because it's a really easy service to use, and that's cool because it's no interest and they're not governed by any of the lending rules. But if you don't pay, it costs a bloody fortune. So that comes into the mix as well, really.
Right. Because I see the afterpay stickers around the place, and I look at that and go, "Whoa, that could be a trap."
Yeah, and like from a customer, like from a human perspective, like it's super easy. You can access it, and actually, you know what? If it's a thing that you're in control of and you're choosing to do it, then that's epic. But it's when you become reliant on that thing, and you're treating it to pay everything. And then there was one lady I heard of. She ended up with 35 different buy now, pay laters, and then she ended up going to a finance company to refinance that. Right. So these things that are meant to only cost kind of take 6 to 8 weeks to pay off Like, she's now in a loan for 3 years because they were so easy to access and they kept increasing her limit that it ended up in a whole world of pain for us. So this kind of short-term spending has had a long-term impact on her life now, and that's really what we're talking about at Sweet Spot, is that, you know, it shouldn't be a defining moment in your life having debt. It should be something you can move through, and that debt isn't bad. We're not after nobody having debt ever. It's when the debt rules you rather than you ruling the debt. That's kind of.
And Sasha, do you give them advice or anything with this? Like, somebody comes in and finds you and says, look, I've got a problem here. How do they find you? Online?
Yeah, so we at Sweet Spot, we want to we know that there are already people doing good things in the community supporting people.
Yep.
So we're really focused on slotting into that ecosystem. So people come to us through partners, and that could be a budget advisor, social housing provider, could be an employer, and they would come through to us that way.
I really like the idea of the employer thing. That's just resonated with me, and that I do know people that have companies with, just thinking of one, forestry company, and, you know, trying to help people.
Exactly. So forestry, factories, retail, kind of like, you know, hard-working Kiwi.
Yep.
Those are the people that, it's not that they're not well served, it's that they're served at a price point that I think is unfair. So we refinance from, you know, people, like I said before, 20 to 40% down to between 13 and 16%. So from day one, people have more cash in their pocket. And then what we do is that we reward positive financial behaviour and celebrate like positive life events. And you can choose to either pay extra off your loan, put it in the savings account, donate it to charity. And we're also looking at partnering with Kiwi Saver providers. So it's kind of the choice is back with you, rather than like this weird parental, like, I'm a finance company, I am the parent and you are the child. It's like, no, actually, you can be in charge of this financial life for yourself.
So coming back to the education part, Sasha, because you will also have people there that have got an issue, have got a problem with managing money.
Yeah, so the way of getting to us at the moment is through budget advisors. So you're already getting the advice there. We are never going to be financial advisors, and we are not the best people to provide advice around financial literacy. That's not our place, and it's not our sweet spot. And there are plenty of good people doing good things out there already, and we want to complement those services. The second thing, though, would be, because we're a digital pathway, we're creating a financial behaviour change platform that's got all sorts of different digital content. And the idea is that complements the things that people are doing in person anyway. And it's kind of AI driven around what you're interested in, you'll see more of. And there are quizzes and all sorts of different things to be curious about. So that's a digital platform that all of the customers of Sweet Spot get, as well as having their kind of in-person support services as well.
This sounds really clever.
Thanks. Well, you know, like, don't you think it's a bit potty that kind of you get charged more if you miss a payment, you get charged more if you can't pay, you know, you get default interest, default fees, the cost of your debt goes up, and it's just because something unpredictable happened. Like, the current system judges people for what life inherently is, which is unpredictable. And that's just stupid. That literally is stupid, because nobody on this planet has a predictable life. But at the moment, if something unpredictable happens, it really harms your pocket, your life, your wider, you know? It's just illogical. So trying to create something that recognises the fragility and the unpredictability of life is kind of what we're about.
I remember a director of a energy company, and he challenged the company. They had a program where if you paid early, you got it at a lower rate. And he said, well, so got that, but some people can't afford to pay on time, and so we're going to make it harder for them, even though they're struggling.
Yeah, this has been like a big, for the last 4 weeks, we have been knee deep in that. Because, yeah, you're right. So energy companies providing early repayment discounts was seen as prejudicing against people that couldn't pay early. There's an advisory note that says, in financial services, it could be seen if we're rewarding positive financial behaviour or rewarding people paying on time, that then we're also doing something similar. I might have sworn quite a lot when I was trying to figure this out, if I'm really honest, because the system at the moment charges lots of people more money if they miss a payment. And in Sweet Spot, we're not charging those fees. So we're not in any way prejudicing people. And we're rewarding people for the hard work of just paying on time, not paying early. But there are some real challenges within the legislation, because the legislation's kind of written to protect people from predatory, horrible, harmful lenders. And we are funded, our investors are charities, and we're funded through the BNZ Sustainability Finance Bucket. Like, we don't have a profit motive. We have a recognising the whole human, helping people move through motive. But how the legislation is written is to protect people. And what that means is that it can make innovation a bit tricky. So rewarding positive financial behaviour is something that we're trying to navigate through at the moment, so that we don't, unintentionally harm people, because that would be, horrific. Like, we can't do that.
Yeah. So you've got, when you launch, you'll actually have currency, hard currency, to lend out.
Yeah, we've got some millions. I can't say how much, but we've got some millions from BNZ to lend out. And then we did our capital raise at the start of the year, and we've done our capital raise with a group of investors that tolerated my weird storytelling around imagining a different system that recognises the whole person and doesn't judge people, and they jumped on board as well, and we're really lucky.
And Sasha, what do you reckon, what's so compelling about you?
What's so compelling about me? I don't think I'm compelling. I think what's compelling is being able to imagine a financial system that's different, and that people really get that there's lots of conversation about digital and technology and all this stuff, whereas the story that we speak of for the future is, human-centred and bringing the person back to the heart.
Okay. What makes your story, because I'm thinking that's absolute bullshit. You are absolutely compelling. Just trying to think of what is it about? No, I'm going to change tack here at the moment because nothing's coming to me. I'm going to take a different angle. Okay. And if we edit it now...
I was like, that's a really good edit point.
See, if we edited this, we'd edit that out. But people like this shit. This is... Yeah. Okay. What has driven you to do this work, Sasha?
Oh, lots of things. Shall I talk about my Matrix moment over the Harbour Bridge?
You can talk about whatever you want.
All right, then. I have got a weird accent, and it'll all become clear why. About 4 or 5 years ago now, I was working for a big finance company, and I was head of ops, and I used to cry when I went home from work, because the stories of our customers there really affected me, and I didn't really understand why. So people were losing their jobs and not able to pay their loan, having cars repossessed, illnesses, just all sorts of horrible things happening to people, like, back to this unpredictability of life. And I could see the pain that happened to these families. And, this debt became this defining moment that people could never walk through. It was like sticky, gross mud. And there's only so much you can do as a lender to help people. And kind of, if you looked at me, like I look like a middle class, apart from the accent, a middle class white woman. And I was like, my negative voice was kind of like, how flippin' dare you? how dare you think that you can empathise with these customers? How dare you? You've got a decent salary, a roof over your head, and, you know, on the face of it, you're a middle-class white woman. Like, what the hell is that all about?
And you're in the system, working for the
and
system.
I'm in the system, and I'm working for the system, and, you know, all of those good things, like, you know, and kind of the type of job and the role that, you know, my family would have only ever dreamed about me having, like, seen as like this epitome of success for my family and where we're from. And then one day I was driving over the Auckland Harbour Bridge, and I was coming back from a choir rehearsal because I'm a singer. And it was like a Matrix moment happened in my eyes, and I can still see it now. Like, driving over, and like all these like blue nodes, and I sound like I'm completely batshit, I promise I'm not, but all these nodes came together in this moment driving over the bridge. And I realised that the reason I would get so upset about these customers, and I still get upset now, was because each of those things that the customers were going through actually was an individual part of my own story, my own narrative, my own background. So so I'm from a little town in England called Stafford, and my family were farmers, and my dad had a bus company. And one day my granddad dropped dead at 67, really unexpectedly. And that meant that our family went into turmoil. My dad had to go and help with milking the cows, because they don't decide that they're not going to be milked just because something bad's happened. And that meant that my dad's business ultimately went under. So that meant that we did have problems with debt collectors and me hiding from the knocking door. And, you know, but my dad's a good person, and that bad thing happened. And that, I mean, I'm 42 now, and that was, God, 35 years ago, and he's still not recovered financially. Like, that's still affected him today. But my dad's a good person, a bad thing happened, you know. And then my mum passed away at 58, and she was a super strong, clever bookkeeper, like the person that made me the person I am today. But she died an alcoholic. Does that make her a bad person? No. She's a good person that a bad thing happened to, because of lots of different things that happened in her life, you know. And then I was in my late 20s. I'm couching when the timing was on purpose. I was in my late 20s, and I had a complete nervous breakdown. And does that make me bad? No. I'm a good person that had a bad thing happen. And those life events could have been a defining moment. And I was lucky that I could move through them. But what I was seeing every day was that those same things were defining moments for people, and they couldn't kind of move through it. So kind of once I realised that, I kind of got rid of the judgmental, you know, middle-class white woman, because we're not middle-class. We, like, worked for every penny that we had, and like even down to, sorry, I was just thinking, like even down to like at our dining room table, I remember the, you know, the big whiskey Bell's water bottle things. I remember my mum, my dad and me sat around this table pouring it out. And it was when, my proper accent's coming back now, and it was when you used to pay people in the little brown envelopes. And we would pour it out, and then we would put it into pound piles. And that wasn't for us to pay our own bills. That was for my dad to pay his staff. You know, like, so I might look like this middle-class white woman that's got a good salary, blah, blah, blah. But where I came from is nothing like that. Like, hard-working English people in a village, you know, you kind of live in the village, never leave the village, marry in the village, get a job for life and never leave it. Like, I am the, you know, I'm the sum of all of those parts, and I live in New Zealand, and I happen to have meandered through this journey. So it's a really long answer, but what it meant was, over the Harbour Bridge, I then knew that I couldn't stay in the system. And I knew that like my appetite to be helpful to people, and my appetite, like I had to be doing something different. And I tried within the system to nudge it as far as I could. And I had, like, we'd done some real cool stuff, and I'm super proud of everything we did there. But I knew that there was a different way. And it's like this fundamental belief that there has to be another way, and it doesn't need to be my way. Like, it's not about me owning any of this. But it's about finding a way that's better, and any way I can kind of figure out what that is, then I'm down for it, you know.
And Sasha, just reflecting on, and this is a guess, but your drive in that professional services world, was that quite high initially?
It's always been high. Like, I'm an accountant that hates numbers, and we started with that, and that's really true. But I was an accountant because my mum wanted me to be rich, because that was really important to her. But I'm shit at numbers. Like, details, not my thing. Staying focused, not my thing. But what I could do was create connections and understand people, like, because I'm like, that's kind of my magic. And so my drive was to understand people, and be of service, really, and help however I could help. So I've always been like an Energizer bunny, Labrador dog, puppy. Like, I've always been a bit bouncy, a bit daft. Don't like things. I've got some words that I hate. Can I tell you about those?
Can I stop you?
Well, you can if you like. I mean, I might just over talk. I hate the word normal, and average. Like, I've got zero tolerance for thinking that everybody's normal. That's absolute bullshit. And living an average life. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm like the hustle person, you know, that goes, oh, don't ever sleep and you need to be giving 1,000 things to 1,000, you know. That's not what I mean. I mean about having a conscious life and being deliberate about where you focus your efforts. And if that means that you're sat on your ass on a sofa not talking to anybody, then that actually is you not being average. That's you, you know, doing you. So, yeah, average and normal. Ugh. Yeah, gross. Like black and white. Ugh.
Has anybody ever called you normal?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Average? Anybody called you average?
No.
No, I didn't think so. No. But for some reason, those have got underneath your skin.
Well, you know what it is, though? I think that, like, putting, like, normal and average, like, people are, I'm going to sound a bit woo, but people are beautiful. Like, we've all got magic within us. It's just that the systems don't ever take enough time to see it. Like, you know? And if you look to your right, Harv, in my office, that's Strengths Finder for our team. And one of my key ones is individualization. And that's because I really do believe in the magic of taking the time to see us all as individuals and really see all of us, rather than trying to put people into boxes or normal or average. Like, we're so much more than that. So why is the entire bloody world, including the education system and everywhere, why is it set up for boxes and buckets and bell curves? Like, it's bullshit. Oh, look at that.
Bit of poetry there.
That was.
Buckets, something in
boxes.
Boxes and bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be a new poem.
Oh, we'll grab that one.
I'm dying to ask, how'd you go at school?
You know what? Like, because I'm really relational and relationship driven, I did fine at school. Because I can, like, so I did okay at school.
Hang on, you just said you did fine, and now it's okay. She's actually reflecting, going, "Oh, what really?"
Well, it's like, it depends how you define it, right? So I got, like, in my GCSEs, I got like 2 A stars, an A, a B. No, like 5 Bs. Like, I did fine.
Yeah.
Like academically.
Yeah.
But the reason I did, oh, you're taking a picture.
Just keep talking.
But the reason that I did okay was because I had a really great short-term memory and I crammed, and I could draw pictures in my head. Like the process of school, and I was shit at coursework because I'm rubbish. Like, you know, I'm just not good at those things. But if I needed to cram for an exam, I could play the game.
Right.
You know? So, but what was interesting, and that's why I was like, was I got glandular fever when I was 14, 15, and I had nearly a year off school. I was really sick with it, and I still got those results. But if I really reflect back why I ended up with all that time off school, it was nothing to do with glandular fever. It was the process of being in boxes. Like, if I really think about it now as a 42-year-old, like, I just found the process overwhelming of how that was, which meant that I went back to school after a little while, did the exams and did fine, thanks very much, because it was nothing about the learning. It was just that I can, like, you know, regurgitate things. And then I did the best in things that were like business, or like where I could question things, because I'm probably really annoying to teachers, actually. I question everything. I just want to understand the connection between everything.
I mean, to be fair, you annoy lots of people even after school.
I do. Oh, and I dropped out of uni, because, like, who learns by, like, reading a text? I don't. I'm sure lots of people do. Sorry, didn't mean to, but I don't. I cannot learn by reading a textbook about economics. I lasted about 2 months, 3 months, and I dropped out, because I learned by talking and relating. So I went to work as a trainee accountant, and you can do that in the UK without a degree. And that's how I learned, was by doing people's tax returns.
Are you learning anything now with us talking?
That you have to sit really close to a microphone and feel like you're going to eat it.
Yeah.
And like the glandular fever thing, I'd not even thought about that before. So that I've just learned that actually the glandular fever was nothing to do with the glandular fever. It was about there was probably some mental health stuff came up there, and it was like the process of, like, it was too linear and a bit overwhelming, I think.
So why are you living in New Zealand?
Well, one day in 2005...
Don't be boring.
So I got really pissed off and bored. I was working at KPMG, and I was doing really well, thanks very much, type malarkey, but I was living at the M4 Junction 4 Holiday Inn for 18 months. I was married at the time to my first husband, and life was just a treadmill of work and nothing else. I'd stopped singing, I'd stopped seeing my friends. My ex-husband kind of had his own life because I was never there, and I was like, there has to be more to life than this. And, like, alchemy happened. So I got annoyed one day at work, and I picked the phone up to, like, the global mobility manager for KPMG, and I said, I want to go somewhere else. Hadn't talked to my husband about it. Want to go somewhere else. And he was like, oh, it's weird that you're phoning right now, because I'm just in a conference with all the global heads of KPMG forensics. So, because I was a forensic accountant then as well. I'll just put you on hold and I'll let you know where you can go. And then within kind of, I don't know, half an hour, I'd got a list of countries that I could go to. And this was late October. And I went home to my husband at the time and I went, guess what? We're moving. And he's like, what, where? London? Where? I'm like, well, there's this place called New Zealand. I think it's got a bridge to Australia. And I think we might go there. And the reason I ended up in New Zealand was because it was starting something new. They hadn't got a forensic practice here. So it was new, you know, nothing existed, needed to create it here. And that's why we came to New Zealand. So that was the end of October, and we moved at the start of January 2006. Hadn't quite finished renovating a house, had to rent it out. Family all thought that we were crazy because, you know, lots of people where we come from don't have passports, never mind going to live across the other side of the world. And if I'm, like, properly honest, I just wanted to escape it just for a little while, because it's quite overwhelming having the life that we had there. Kind of, it was too busy, too treadmill-y, lots of stuff going on with the family at that time. You know, I mentioned my mum being an alcoholic. Well, my mum was running a pub at that time. So, you know, there's just a whole heap of stuff. And we were relatively newly married, and I wanted to give us a shot of being a married couple without the noise of anything else around us.
So he came with you?
Yeah, he did. And
then what happened?
And then what happened? Oh, we could go down here.
Okay, all right. That's off limits.
And then what happened? So we stayed, and KPMG was really good to us, and, you know, I love that place even now.
A forensic accountant.
I know. I know it's crazy, hey?
Yeah, it
But if you
is.
think about it, like a forensic accountant, it's all about the psychology of people. Like, why do people steal money? Why are people in dispute? So it was like an expert witness accountant. Like it's still all about people and relationships that happen to have some numbers. It wasn't about writing bloody
So
financial
you
accounts.
can tell them how much they'd embezzled, but why they had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I could see if they were bloody lying and all. You know, that kind of EQ piece. It was quite handy. So we stayed, and we always intended to go back home. I remember saying to our families, like, we would never be so selfish as to have children in New Zealand and not come back. Like, that's never going to be a thing. Don't you worry. We're not those people. We're not those people. Oh, we are. And we had my son Toby in July 2008, and we took him back at the Christmas of that year. And me and my husband went, no, family is amazing and family is really important, but this environment of what Toby would grow up in, we don't think that that's what we want for Toby. So it was kind of this conscious decision around knowing that we're making this sacrifice around Toby's connection with his family and the UK and his roots, and knowing that life here just felt more grounded, safer. And I don't mean safer like crime, I just mean more human focused rather than, oh, let's go buy new cushions every weekend, like less. I tell you what it was. In the UK, you'd go to work on the Monday morning and they would say to you, what did you buy on the weekend? And in New Zealand, people were really bothered about what we did on the weekend. And that was a real shift, because when we first got to New Zealand, we were buying bloody cushions and we were buying stuff because that's like our habit that we were in. It's just like, oh, well, you need to buy candles and you need to blah, blah, blah. And then we get to work on Monday and they go, so what did you do? And be like, we went to the warehouse. And they're like, why did you do that? Like, we needed cushions. And they're like, did you not go to the beach? We're in a new country and we're buying cushions and not going to the beach. Like, how ridiculous, you know? So I think that we both made the decision. We were still married at the time, thank goodness. The decision to stay, and we're still here, and Toby's 14 now. But we're not together anymore.
So we've just had a long weekend.
We have.
What did you buy?
I got some new shoes.
Oh.
I know. No, but like, this is like massive because I don't buy new anymore. Like, I am bloody, like the designer secondhand places and like all of the places and on trade, I don't buy new anymore. So this was huge this weekend, buying a new pair of shoes. I cannot tell you literally the last time I bought a new pair. Like, really, genuinely. So that's why it's so exciting, because it was like a real conscious, like, look, I've got them on. See? Look.
Oh.
You can't see my foot right now. Yeah, so I did that, but we hung out in the garden and we, potted about and went up to Whangarei to see Tim's family. New name, that's the new husband.
A new one. How's he going?
Oh, he's good. Started
He's
a new
all
job
right?
today. Yeah, he's
Is
all
it?
right. Yeah, he'll do. Yeah. I'm not going to trade him in.
Not, yes, okay. So, Sasha, what? We met through the fellowship, but you're an Edmund Hillary Fellow.
I am.
And we met in Wellington.
We did.
We did.
Cider and beer.
Yeah.
And gin.
Yep. What's your big dream for New Zealand?
Oh my goodness. My big dream.
Well, I mean, it could have been easier if you just filled out the list, but you didn't. We went free fall.
My big dream for New Zealand. So I imagine a New Zealand where an individual's value isn't determined by the cash in their pocket, that we recognise the value way beyond all of that, and that value is able to be used across all sectors. So in the financial world, that means acknowledging and recognising not just the money in your pocket, but your skills, your strengths, your connection to community, your service to community, like all of those things. So my dream for New Zealand is that we recognise the goodness that's in all of us, and we value all of those things, not just how much cash you've got in the pocket, because that's such a it's not even two-dimensional, is it? It's like a one-dimensional awfulness that means that I reckon we're missing a whole heap of opportunity for New Zealand. We're missing magic because we're choosing not to see. You know, it's like when I went down to Te Awanga like 2 or 3 years ago. Lily Stender, another EHF
who's also
fellow.
a fellow. Yep.
She's epic, so epic. Have you got her on this yet? You need to get her on this.
Well, we can finish here and get on to somebody.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Get on to somebody better. Yeah, I know.
I'm trading up.
You are
Lily,
trading
we're
up.
coming for you.
Lily,
Yep.
we are.
Yeah.
And, you know, that region, it depends what, like, set of glasses that you've got on when you go down to that region, right? Because there's a whole heap of narrative around the East Coast, and that it's, you know, there's high levels of poverty and social issues and unemployment and, you know, like this narrative of lacking, like, but I don't see it that way down there. I bloody love it down there. And I see it through a lens of abundance. Like when you really spend time there, you see that the community is super connected, that, you know, cash isn't the only currency. There are many other currencies of value down in that region. And that if we just take the time to, you know, look at the value in that community, then I think that it could be a different way of seeing the value for New Zealand. Like, look at it through the lens of abundance, not of scarcity. You know, scarcity and lacking. Yeah, you can look at a housing challenge. You can look at crime and unemployment. That's nice. They're numbers. See, don't like numbers. But if you flip it and think about abundance, well, what's abundant down there? Actually, it's connection to community. It's caring for the land. It's looking at a multi-generational lens. It's creating pathways to entrepreneurship. It's thinking about what the new economy could look like, the Araha economy. Like, there's so many good things. But if people go down there with the lens of scarcity, well, then that's all they'll see.
Great answer. Great answer.
Thanks.
Tell me about Lily. Why is she so cool?
Lily is so cool because there are systemic challenges with getting funding in New Zealand, and she gets on with shit anyway. Like, she will just deliver, and she's so focused on making a difference, not only in Tolaga Bay but for the whole region. She's a powerhouse, like super bright, super clever. You know, when you walk into a room and you notice people, she's like, you know, what, 5'4", but she holds the weight of, you can kind of see the ancestors that are standing with her. Like, that's how she comes across, like this massive powerhouse. And that's what makes her epic, is that she will make it work. She will find a way. And I've been really lucky to spend some time down there in Tolaga, staying at the pub there and down to the marae. It was kind of life-changing for me, actually, going down there.
Sasha, I've just remembered something that I would have asked you, and I might just pause this podcast soon so you can go and maybe get it. But when we were in Wanganui recently,
yeah, I have got it.
And so Sasha and I are on the same collective intelligence team, and you're a new person in the team, and you read something out.
I've still got it. Yeah, I carry it everywhere.
Yeah, I would love you to read that out here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to go and get it though.
All right. Okay. Here we go.
Yep.
Okay, so welcome back, Sasha. We've just gone and had a wee hunt around and we've found it. And look, this had a profound effect on me when you read this out, and I should have thought beforehand we could have added this in. So just frame up what you're about to read for us, please.
Okay. Well, earlier on I mentioned about my Matrix moment going over the harbour bridge. And after that moment, I started really figuring out who I was, or trying to anyway, who I was, what I stood for, what I thought, like what was really driving all of this kind of unrest within me. And I started journaling and pondering and reflecting. And then one day I was at home working, and it's only happened 2 times in my life. One was when I was about 11, and then there's this time, which was September 2019, and a poem came out of me. And I'm no poem writer, but that's what this is.
Poem writer's called a poet.
A poem writer. I'm so good at the England. I'm no good at numbers, and I'm rubbish for words. Crikey.
But you're a good singer.
I am a good singer.
You said singer before. I thought, oh, that is fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened at 11?
Oh, at 11, I was, well, now I realise that I was pretty bloody depressed. And I can't remember this, I can't remember the poem other than, and I had a vision this morning that we were going to talk about this exact sentence, just quietly, or woo-woo. Anyway, and that was over the Harbour Bridge as well. And I wonder what the hell goes on in that Harbour Bridge for me. Anyway, and in this poem, it said, life is a never-ending season of decay. That's the only line I can remember from it at 11. That basically, as soon as you're born, everything's dying. Isn't that depressing?
Oh.
Yeah, 11. Yeah, I had the piece of paper for years and I can't find it now, but that's the only thing I remember from it.
Okay, so we're not reading that out today.
No, we moved on from that.
Good.
I'm a bit older than 11, thank God.
Okay. All right. So, Sasha, that was so. Please read out. What's it called? What do you call it? It's a poem.
It's called The Authentic Alchemist.
Okay, go.
Well,
By Sasha Lockley.
By Sasha, I know. How crazy is that? But
Poem writer.
Poem writer. But the specific, like, why this came up, I think, was that I was trying to figure out whether my unrest, like how I felt unhappy about the system, wanting to change things, I was trying to figure out whether this was a real thing or whether it was just me as a person, and was I flawed, or was it, like, what was it? And that's how the poem came up. Okay? And I'll try that. Okay. I'll do my best. I'm no poem reader either. And last time I read this, I cried.
Yeah, you'll do it again.
Oh,
It'll be good.
I'm sorry, listeners. I apologise. Okay. The Authentic Alchemist. I am driven by an inescapable calling to create connection and change, tell the stories people can't see, and build connections between senses, feelings, and unspoken words along the untrodden, unknown path of tomorrow. I just know. Is it that I fall upon or am found by the places where I am needed, but not always wanted? Either way, the energy to spark the start of a story that is yet to be written, and the unique elements come together to form the story that no one has told. Together we create beautiful diamond-laden chapters out of uneven lumps of coal and pebbles. The alchemy speaks when the chapter is finished. There is a call to move on. Move on from a place where I am now wanted, but no longer needed. A faint song whispers quietly in my ear, guiding me to my next destination. I know, I see, I sense, and I feel it all. But I keep digging in because polishing diamonds feels safe. Who's to say coal and pebbles will alchemize again? But I cannot and will not ignore the song in my ear. The song creates relentless waves of incessant emotions, growing higher and deeper, louder, all-consuming. My soul listens curiously to answer, slowly singing along to the familiar tune. The craving of my mind for stability is as ever present as the breath I take. Sometimes the song of my soul wins, and I grow. And sometimes the word of my mind of safety wins, and I take a great fall before I grow again. Boom, I nearly got there. Jeez.
Lovely.
Thanks. It's the last, it's the last few lines that get me, because we've all got a choice, you know, in how we live life. And where I'm from, like, and the upbringing I had with my mom was to pick safety and security and find a man that won't hurt you, and, you know, it'll be a nice life, and just get a job, and just get, you know, you'll lose it all if you push too hard. So I'm always in tension, tension between safety and knowing that there's a better way. Always. This kind of duality is always inside me, and I'm always fighting with it.
Nice. Thank you, Sasha. And I loved hearing it the first time. I loved hearing it again.
Thanks.
You poem writer, you.
Yeah, I think there's actually another version after that that's slightly less wordy at the start, to be fair. But anyway, it was the place that started the rest of the journey, was that poem.
It's interesting how it takes years and years and years to work ourselves out sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, and I still haven't got it sorted.
No.
But it's kind of, I now know that if I try to be normal or average or fit a box or be safe or any of those things, that it makes me unwell. You know, like it's like you know, the fight of trying to do that or be that, you know, makes me ill in lots of different ways. You know, so much better to roll with it.
You know, what a great message for kids to hear that, and because you know, it's with all the hundreds of people we've worked with, you know, never once have we met somebody who's got their shit together. It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist. And when you see people walking around with this lovely facade on, you go, ooh, look at that, knowing it's just a facade. Yeah. Yep. And so often we just aren't brave enough. I mean, you know, it would have been easier for you not to read that out today, Sasha, but, you know, it's putting it out there, it's fabulous.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with the kids now. I've got 3 kids now. I've got Toby and then my two step kids. And I think it's almost criminal that we still kind of see kids as this kind of, you know, go past your maths exam and your science box, and, you know, for a world that's not going to exist in the future really anyway, because things will have moved on. But hey, let's go judge you based on, you know, this syllabus that was written in bloody whenever it was. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know, 1960. I've got no idea. But, you know, whereas back to this, you know, imagine a world where we can see the value in all facets of a person and how beautiful that can be, because then the opportunity for New Zealand is so much greater. Well, imagine if we did that now for kids, you know, so that people, like my son, you know, doesn't particularly fit into this academic world that, you know, I managed to play the game of. But I wonder how he would feel about himself if these other elements of him were also valued, you know.
Sasha, what else do we need to cover today before we sign off?
I think we need to cover off taking the leap out of being employed to not employed. So the reason I applied for the Edmund Hillary Fellowship was to legitimise my reason for wanting to leave my job to find a better way. And that I felt like I needed to be able to say I was going to something, a thing that had got a name, you know, and I didn't I couldn't imagine doing that without being able to do that. You know, sit in a barbecue. Oh, what do you do now? Oh, well, I left my perfectly well-paying job to think and ponder. You know, like, that's not really a thing you can do at a barbecue. They already think I'm bonkers enough. So having that, oh, well, I left my job to join the Edmund Hillary Fellowship, and we're all focused on wanting to, you know, make the world a better place.
Right.
You know, so what I think we need to talk about is that we all have these things within us that might piss us off or might frustrate us. And I'm not saying that everybody should leave their job, but find a way to participate in different solutions for those things that piss you off. You don't need to leave your job and, you know, all of those, but find the way that means that you are contributing the magic that you've got inside you around the things that annoy you. If you've got a voice, even if you're staying in your job, and that's cool, but you might have, I don't know, an opinion about, I don't know, new toys for the future, whatever it might be. Like, find a way to participate beyond the labels that we have in this society. That would be the thing that we need to talk about. Is I happened to leave my job in March 2020, and then the pandemic happened, which was great. But and I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but I do think, like, my challenge to anybody that's got this far through this podcast episode is, like, what is within you that needs to be heard, and making sure that it can be heard out there.
That's wicked. That's very cool. That's very cool. Just say that again, please.
What is within you that needs to be heard, and what's a way of getting out there to be heard?
Mm. Sasha, good luck with the launch in December.
Now I've said it on here, I've actually got to launch
You've got
in
to do
December,
it now.
so I need to go back to work now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. You work here all night.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations with the launch in December. Congratulations on the impact you're going to have on so many people going forward. And I know it's going to be tough, and you know it's going to be tough, and there's going to be times you think, fuck this, I just want to give up and all that. And it's going to be fascinating to see this journey. And thank you for your voice being heard, Sasha. It is being heard.
Thanks, Harv.
Yeah. And I would imagine your mother would be very proud of you now.
Mm-hmm. She would.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for listening in. We're Collective Intelligence, a one-of-a-kind people ecosystem that takes inspiration from Mother Nature. To find out how we reimagine leadership development, visit our website www.collectiveintelligence.co.nz.